Hi, I hope you're well. I hope you had a good weekend. We're back with Acts 21 today. I wonder, reading Acts, if you read Acts 1, the ascension of Jesus, Acts 2, Pentecost, the birth of the church, and over the next few chapters of Acts, we read about the miracles that God is doing and the way that God is growing this beautiful, innocent church. And I wonder if your interest starts to wane as we reach Acts 21 and to the end, where it starts to get a little odd, doesn't it? As we read that Paul travels to Jerusalem and then on to Rome. But I'm going to help us navigate our way through the next 5 chapters, which are a little difficult to read, but hopefully I'll be providing some interesting thoughts for you to think about. So in Acts 21, we read that it's almost as if wherever Paul travelled, these prophets were saying, don't go to Jerusalem. Agabus, for instance, takes Paul's belt, ties it round his hands and says, this is how the owner of this belt will be bound. I wonder, particularly in a charismatic church like ours, I wonder how we deal with conflicting, contrasting voices from God. How do we deal with it when perhaps I hear from God and he's saying one thing for our community, and perhaps you hear from God and he's saying something else? How do we reconcile those voices? And to be honest, I don't particularly have definitive answers. But one point I'd like to point out to you is in Acts 21 verse 14, we read that this is what the verse says. It says, when he would not be dissuaded, we gave up and said, the Lord's will be done. The importance of that we is that Luke was involved in dissuading Paul not to go. Later, we read a few verses down in verse 17 that Luke writes, when we arrived at Jerusalem, the brothers and sisters received us warmly. So Luke tried to dissuade Paul from going to Jerusalem, but he submitted to Paul and travelled with him, risking his life for Paul. Isn't that amazing and powerful? If you would love to read a book on how we deal with kind of authority and submitting ourselves to authority, I'd really recommend a slightly controversial book, but it's a brilliant book called A Tale of Three Kings by Gene Edwards. Perhaps go away and look it up. Buy it online, have a little read in lockdown. It's a really, really challenging, good book. I'll see you tomorrow for Acts 22. Thanks for watching.